This video has been kindly sponsored by Squarespace. Hi guys! Today I have another scrap yarn project for you all, and this time it's for accessories. They're quick, they're easy, they only require one skein of yarn to make, and there's a high possibility that you can get them all done in one day. With all that said, let's go ahead and get started. The first accessory I thought of was a bookmark. Since I was playing with beads and charms in my crochet bag video, I wanted to make anything I possibly could with the charms, and I've also gotten back into reading, so I thought it would be cool to make bookmarks. I found these bookmarks online and thought it would be cute to make charms that match whatever book that I want to use it for, so I first chose the books that I wanted to design them for and then went to town with figuring out fun little ideas for the charms, as well as what beads I'd want to use for them. I decided to just figure out the beads after I make the crochet charm since I like being spontaneous, and yeah, that's all there is to the bookmark. The next accessory I want to make is a glasses pouch. At first, I was planning on making a bunch of scrunchies since I've never made one before, but then I thought of the fact that I rarely ever use scrunchies unless my hair is braided, which it is, but I wanted to make something more versatile. So I scratched that and decided to make something that I'd have to use every single day, which is a glasses pouch. It was actually hard to figure out how I wanted the pouch to look like, since I could have made a simple solid color pouch or a pouch made with granny squares, but I saw these bracelet graphs that I thought would make the perfect length for a pouch, so I scrambled through Pinterest to find ones that would work for me and ended up choosing a couple graphs that were potential winners for the pouch. The last accessory I want to make is a necktie. I've been wanting more ties in my wardrobe, and I thought instead of buying a bunch of them, why not make a bunch of them for free with the yarn that I already own? I've never made a necktie before, but it seems like it'll be easy since it's incredibly similar to a ribbon, which I've made twice so far. I could also use my boyfriend's tie as a template if I need any help with figuring out a pattern. I played around with different colors and eventually thought it would be cool to make a theme for some of them, so I played around with those different ideas that I could potentially do, like a Coraline themed one or an ocean themed one, since I still have a lot of blue beads and yarn left over. For the Beauty and the Beast rose bookmark, I took my red yarn and a 3mm hook and chained to 21. In the third chain from the hook, I added 1 half double crochet, and then for the rest of the row, I repeated a pattern of half double crocheting into 1 stitch, chaining 2, and then half double crocheting in the same stitch. At the end of the row, I chain 2 and turn my work. For the second and last row, I worked 4 half double crochets in the chain 2 space, chained 1, and then slip stitched into the next stitch. Then I chained 2 and worked another 4 half double crochets into the next chain 2 space. After, I chained 1, slip stitched into the next stitch, chained 2, and then repeated this pattern until the end. Once I got to the end of the row, I chained 1 and cut a long tail so that I could use it to sew the rows together. I just went in and out around the rows in areas where I thought it should be sewn together, and also fluffed it out, if that's the right word, and just tried to shape it to look like a rose. For the stem, I chained 11 with my green yarn, and then in the second chain from the hook, I worked 1 single crochet. In the next stitch, I did 1 half double crochet, then 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, one half double crochet in the next, and then 1 single crochet in the next. After, I chained 7, and then repeated that same pattern of 1 single crochet in the second chain from the hook, 1 half double crochet in the next, 2 double crochets in the next 2, 1 half double crochet in the next, and 1 single crochet in the last. The 2 leaves should be next to each other, and all I did after that was slip stitch into the little stitch in the middle, chained 6, and cut off. I was originally gonna do 1 leaf, and then as I was crocheting I was like, let me just make another leaf. So I came up with that impromptu pattern right then and there. I took one of the ends of the stem and weaved it into the back of the rose and was actually really happy with how it came out. I've only made 1 rose in the past, which was in my green crochet video, and I had to alter that pattern a bit so it would work for a tiny version, and it came out so cute. For the sakura flower, I took my white yarn and first chained 4. After, I slip stitched into the first stitch of the row to join it in the round. You can also do a magic circle, but these days I haven't really been wanting to make magic circles, so I just use this method instead. After, I chained 2, and in that middle space work 2 double crochets. After, I chained 2 and then worked 3 double crochets. I repeated making a chain 2 and then 3 double crochets until there were a total of 5 sections. Sorry if it's hard to see because of the white, but after having a total of 5 sections of 3 double crochets, I slip stitched into the first chain 2 of the row. What I did here was slip stitch into the middle double crochet stitch. Then in the chain 2 space to the side, I worked a half double crochet, a double crochet, a treble crochet, a double crochet, and then a half double crochet. After, in the next 3 double crochet section, I slip stitched into the middle stitch and again worked in the next chain 2 gap with a half double, a double, a treble, a double, and a half double. I repeated this around the entire row. At the end of the row, I had 5 petals. I slip stitched into the same stitch I first started the row in and then cut off a semi-long tail. I took my pink yarn, and this section was a bit experimental, but I used my tapestry needle to pull the yarn through the middle and then in the petal gap. After, I pulled it through the middle from the back again and repeated this for a total of 3 times just to make the little pink part in the middle. You could easily just do the first row in pink and then the second row in white, but I didn't think of that until I got to this point, so yeah. But the sakura was done. I wasn't sure if I liked it too much, but it was okay because I knew I could spice it up with charms later. I weaved in my pink yarn and also weaved in the white tail so that it could be on top of one of the petals. After I finished making the rose and the sakura, I went to Joann's to look at some of the charms. I went through a lot of the charms and saw that they were pretty pricey, so I knew whichever ones I chose had to be the ones I'd actually use. Here is everything that I got from Joann's. It was pretty hard to find something that worked with the theme and was small enough, but thankfully I found some glass beads for both of them. I got these for the rose since they kind of look like the image that's on the front of the book, and it's small enough to kind of go with the rose. And then I also got these little flowers just because they kind of work with it, but hopefully when I put them together it'll be good. This is my second time making charms. The first time was in my bags video, so I didn't completely have an idea of what I wanted to do exactly, but I first started with the Beauty and the Beast charm by first adding a little ring to the portrait charm and then went ahead and added a bunch of beads to it. Once the beads I wanted were on there, I used my looper tool to cut the end of it. I then took the crochet rose tail and looped it into one of the jump rings before weaving in the end into the rose stem so that it stays attached to the jump ring. And then finally I attached the charm and the rose to the bookmark with another jump ring. For For the cherry blossom charm, I went ahead and weaved the tail into a jump ring and then into the flower itself, then made my little beaded charm that will accompany the flower. I really loved this little flower frame that I have. I think it's incredibly cute and accommodates any type of bead you'd want in the middle of it. After adding all the beads I want, I used the looper tool to cut the end, attached everything onto a jump ring and then onto the bookmark. Then both of the bookmarks were complete. Here is the results of my bookmarks. I'm really happy with my Beauty and the Beast one. I think it's so cute, and this charm right here goes so well with the theme of the book, as well as it complements the rose, like the black and red, and of course the green. It just looks really nice to me. For this one, I feel like I could have done this a lot better just with the pattern that I decided to make. The charm works really well with the book. The theme is there, it's just kind of not giving, but that's just my opinion. I still really love it. I'm still gonna use it, and I love how, like, yeah, I made this for Beauty and the Beast, or yeah, I made this for Hanakimi, but I can use this for literally any book. Like this right here could be used for Dracula. Like the colors go well with it, and I'm sure I have another pink book somewhere that I could use this for as well. Like they're very versatile, or if you just want them as decoration, they could be just sitting there, and it's perfect either way. Here's the graph I decided to do for the glasses pouch. I mainly chose this one because it's so short in width, and since I'm using weight 4 yarn for this, it's literally perfect for the width that I need for my glasses. And then another reason why I like this one in particular is because it's a repeating pattern, so no matter where I cut it while I'm working, you can still tell that, okay, it's a pouch that has mushrooms on it. And here's the yarn that I'm using. It's weight 4 yarn, and I'm gonna be using a 5mm hook. Before I got started, I first labeled the graph just to make it easier for myself when it got time to changing the colors. I took my weight 4 green yarn and a 5mm hook and first chained 11. The graph has 10 stitches, but if I chain 10, one chain will disappear when I start, so I chained 11 instead. I worked down the entire row with single crochet. At the end of the row, I chained 1 and turned my work. When working graphs, you want to work from the right side to the left side for the first row, and then for the second row, it switches since you're turning your work. So for this second row, I'm working from left to right. The graph says for the first 3 stitches starting from the left, I work green. So I actually work 2 stitches with the green. For the third stitch, I work half a single crochet, and instead of finishing it, I take my next color, which is red, and switch to the red, which completes the third stitch. When switching to red, I make sure that my green tail and the tail from the red yarn lays in the front, since I decided to make this side the back of the pouch. I also added a stitch marker to that side so I can remember in case I take a break. The graph says I have to do 2 stitches with red, so I first work 1 stitch fully with red. Then for the second stitch, I work half a single crochet, take my already attached green, and then finish the stitch with the green. The next 5 stitches are all in green, so I work green until the end. At the end, I chained 1 and turned my work. For this row, I'm working from right to left. The first 4 stitches are green, so I work 3 stitches with the green. For the 4th stitch, I work half a single crochet, take my next color, which is red, that's already attached, make sure that the green goes to the back so that all the tails can be on the same side. Then the next stitch is red, but because it's only 1 stitch, I only worked it with half a single crochet before switching to my next color, which is white. I switch again in the next stitch since white is worked only once, and then again in the next stitch since red is only worked once. After, I switch to green and then work that for the next 3 stitches. I just did about 12-ish rows, and I kind of like it, but I kind of also don't like it. I think it's more just the fact that sometimes when you crochet tapestry, it doesn't come out like super, like the graph doesn't pop out as much as you'd want it to, but sometimes it does. It just depends on the graph and how big or small the piece is. Also, I have this little pouch that's like a microfiber pouch, and I think what I'm gonna do is after I finish the crochet pouch, this part is gonna go inside, so it's gonna have my glasses inside this pouch, and then I'm going to put that in this pouch just so I don't have to sew in a lining or anything. I continued working on the front panel, and when I finished it, I decided to make the back panel just plain green instead of making the mushroom graph again. For the back panel, I chained 11 again and worked single crochet for 28 rows. Once the back panel was complete, I attached both panels together by attaching my yarn a couple stitches down the side and then chained 1. I added 3 single crochets into that same stitch, and then in the next stitch, I added a slip stitch. I repeated working 3 double crochets into one stitch and then a slip stitch in the other, down and around the pouch until I reached the other side. For the drawstring to keep the top closed, I created a chain of 51 with my beige yarn. With my tapestry needle, I weave the drawstring in and out around where the side ruffle starts so that the top that closes can have enough space to close, if that makes sense. This was impulsive, but I also decided to make leaves for the bottom of the drawstring. To do that, I took my green yarn and chained 7. In the first stitch, I worked a single crochet. In the next, I added a half double crochet. In the next 2 stitches, I worked a double crochet into each. Then a half double crochet in the next, and a single crochet in the next. I added another single crochet into that same stitch, and then in this little stitch on the opposite side, I added another single crochet, and then repeated the pattern of working a half double crochet in the next stitch, then a double crochet into the next 2 stitches, then a half double crochet in the next, and a single crochet in the next. I then chained 1, cut my yarn, and pulled to secure. I used my tapestry needle to attach the leaves to the drawstrings and weaved in the tails of the drawstring and the leaves into the back of the leaf to make them extra secure. Then my pouch was complete. I was really happy with how this one came out, so I decided to make another one with the Totoro graph that I found. This one was larger than the mushroom one and started with a chain of 17 instead of 11 like the mushroom one did. After finishing the front and the back panel, I connected them the same way I did for the mushroom pouch with 3 single crochets in one stitch and a slip stitch in the other. I made a drawstring with 81 chains this time and looped it in the front, making one of the ends stay on each side of the bag by weaving one of the ends in and out around the pouch twice. For the mushroom bag, I only did it once, which makes the strings stay on one side. Since the Totoro pouch was bigger, I decided to put my glasses in the mushroom pouch and my large circular glasses in the Totoro pouch. Here is how both of the glasses pouches came out, and I am so happy with them. Look how cute they are. I love that I added the little flowers on here. This one, as I was making it, it felt very reminiscent of my mushroom pouch that I made in my green crochet video, and so I guess this could be like its cousin or something, but I really love how they came out. For this one, I was a bit scared because it was pretty small, but I'm glad that I made a bigger one so that I can switch off my glasses. So this one has my really tiny glasses in there, and I really like how based off the graph that you choose, you can make it bigger or larger depending on the size of your glasses. So I've never made a crochet tie before, so I'm using my boyfriend's tie as like a little template, and just looking at the shape, it looks incredibly easy. Whether I start from this side or this side, it's basically just increasing until a certain point, working it normally, and then at a certain point gradually decrease to make the bottom half skinny and then decrease more until it's pointy again. That sounds pretty easy to me, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with some basic yarn, and then if I like it, then I can get creative with it. For the tie, I started with a chain of 2 with a 5.5mm hook. I ended up making double crochet and single crochet versions, but the pattern is almost exactly the same. For the first row, I worked 2 double crochets in the first chain, then after, I chained 1 and turned my work. On row 2, I worked 2 double crochets into each stitch, which widens the tie. At the end of the row, I chained 1 and turned my work. For row 3, I worked 2 double crochets in the first stitch, then in the next 2 stitches, I only worked 1 double crochet into each. In the last stitch, I worked 2 double crochets, I tested the width on the other tie, which showed me that it wasn't wide enough, so I went for another row of increasing at the sides. So for the next 2 rows, I worked 2 double crochets in the first stitch, worked regular double crochets into every stitch until the last stitch, then 2 double crochets in the last stitch. On row 6, I worked a regular double crochet into each stitch and repeated this until row 25. On row 26, I worked a decrease into the first and second stitch. Then I worked the row normally until the last 2 stitches. In the last 2 stitches, I added a decrease. After, I chained 1 and turned my work. For row 27, I worked the row normally with no decreases. For row 28, I worked a decrease row, which is just me decreasing into the first 2 stitches, working the row normally, and then decreasing into the last 2 stitches. For row 29, I worked the row normally. For row 30, I did another decrease row. Row 31 should have 4 stitches remaining. For row 31 until after row 63, I worked normal rows with no decreasing. On row 64, I worked a decrease into the first 2 stitches and then the last 2 stitches, then chained 1 and turned my work. For row 65, I decreased into the last 2 remaining stitches, chained 1, cut the yarn, and pulled to secure. Ignore the way I tied it, but here is what the first tie looked like. I'm actually really happy with it, so I went ahead and made more. I made my second tie with this Malabrigo yarn since I thought the texture would be really unique for the tie. With this one, it worked up faster than the other yarns, so I just used the first crochet tie to accurately measure how long I wanted the tie to be. For this one, when it was done, I decided to work around the entire tie with single crochet just to make the edges look a bit neater. For the rest of the night, I ended up making a bunch of ties with different color combinations, and as I was making them, I thought more about how I was going to decorate them exactly. It's funny that when I decided to make a bunch more ties, I was like, I'm going to make a whole bunch right now in every color that I own. And then when I finished 5 ties, I was like, alright Mija, you're going to have to do like 1 more and call it a night. The next day, I had a total of 7 ties that I completed. I got back out all of my beads and stuff and played around with what I had to make cool themes for each of the ties. For the first blue tie, I already had a Coraline theme design, so I first made little charms with my blue beads and swirl charms. After, I played around with where I wanted my buttons and star beads to go, so I placed them all over the tie before sewing some of the stars onto the tie. Then I added surface crochet swirls onto the tie because it fit the theme, and then sewed more of the buttons and stars on. For the brown tie, I made 2 charms with my green stars and leaf beads, then sewed on green buttons since the color worked really well with the brown. This tie and the Coraline tie was pretty impulsive, and even though I had planned the Coraline one, it was still a bit overwhelming. I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but so many ideas were swarming in my mind to the point where I couldn't just pick one, and then my mind would go blank and then I didn't have any idea of what to do. Even when I was making the ties last night, I had so many ideas to the point where I was about to make 3 black ties just to have each tie be different, but I stopped myself because I was getting too excited. Once all of that was done, the ties were officially complete. I finally finished all of the ties and I'm pretty happy about most of them. If you can see, I'm wearing this one. I think this one is honestly my favorite along with the plain ones. For this one, I really love the green and the brown mixture together. I really want to play with those 2 colors, especially during the fall time. And I think this is like my entryway of putting some pieces together, or at least having some accessories to go with those colors. This next tie I made in the theme of Coraline. I was pretty experimental with this one. I do wish I had a blue that was just a little bit lighter and less vibrant just to fit the Coraline colors, but this wasn't super planned. Like, I knew I wanted to do a Coraline themed tie, but I still didn't have too much planned, and I had to go based off of what charms and stuff I had. I really like that I added this surface crochet here. I wish I didn't do this one in black, so I kind of tried to emphasize it by adding another swirl to it, but there's only so much I could do with how dark this blue is. When I put the tie on, all of these stars were kind of hidden. It kind of opened the realm of possibilities when decorating ties and stuff. These are the only two I ended up decorating just because I couldn't really think of too many ideas. Like, even though the realm of possibilities were open, I still had to sit down and figure out what I wanted to do. But I was pretty limited with all of the charms and stuff I had. And after doing this one, I was like, all right, this was a lot. I had to sew on all of the stars individually, so that took a lot of time. This is what the back looks like, by the way. Overall, I'm pretty happy with all of the projects in this video. I think my least favorite is probably the sakura bookmark that I made, just because the sakura looked kind of off, but besides that, everything came out pretty cool. My ultimate favorites are probably my Totoro glasses pouch and this tie right here. They just work with my style and my interests and stuff, and I'm really happy with them. I also really like this one. At first, it wasn't coming out the way that I thought it would, and I was like, I don't really like this, but having it all put together, I think it's really cute. Let me know which ones are your favorite, and I'll see you in the next video. Before we go, I want to quickly say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace is an all-in-one platform that allows you to create your very own website. From creating a site that hosts your artistic portfolio to a site that allows you to sell your art or merchandise, Squarespace is the perfect site for you. If you're not sure where to start exactly, Squarespace offers a ton of different templates based on the type of website you're trying to build, whether it be a blog, a portfolio, or your first shop. Even after choosing a template, Squarespace offers many customization tools to develop your site even further. If you want to build a community with those who visit your site, Squarespace offers email campaigns, which can also be customized to your liking and have them sent to your customers regularly with updates and sales you may have going on. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch your site, go to squarespace.com/ecoshun for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.